Hello my friends, Mikkel Rena here. If this is your first time joining me, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be making a variety of fridge magnets using paper flowers from the Dollar Tree. I hope that you like, subscribe, and share, and let's get started. Okay, my friends, so I found this package of paper flowers in the floral section of the Dollar Tree, and this particular package came with 4 different colors of flowers. So there's a lovely mint color, lavender, a peachy pink, and sort of a yellowy creamy color. But there's some packages that have pink and ivory together, and then I think there's one that also has blue, but I didn't see that one when I went into the store. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is removing the little pearl from the center of each flower to prepare them for the next step. And for our first magnet project, I'm going to be using 8 magnets, 8 tiny magnets, so I'm only going to need 8 little flowers. So I just picked 2 of each color. Next, I'm using some Glossy Mod Podge, and I'm just going to coat one side of each flower with the Mod Podge. We're only going to be doing 1 coat, so it can be generous or not. It's entirely up to you, just as long as you coat the entire thing. And it doesn't matter if you start with the front or back side, because we're going to be covering both sides in the Mod Podge. So I found the glossy finish really gave it a nice look, and the Mod Podge also firmed up the flowers a bit, so it gave them a really nice look when they were finished, a nice shape. And each flower ended up looking really unique and almost natural because of the way that the petals kind of sat and dried. And I was able to scrunch them a bit too when they were dried, which was really nice. So once your flowers dry, which took maybe about half an hour for the front side to dry, I just went back in afterwards and painted the back side. So it doesn't take long to dry at all, especially since it's so cold here and my heat is on full blast. There are days that have been literally like -15. So yep, our apartment is like the desert right now. So these dried in under half an hour. So you're gonna coat one side, let it dry, and then come back and coat the other side in the Mod Podge as well. Okay, my friends, so we're ready for the next step. I'll be using some metal leaf adhesive to stick some silver leaf to my little magnets. Now, I really did not like these colors, but you can use acrylic paint, chalk paint, spray paint to coat these. I decided to add the metal leaf adhesive, which does not dry completely. It remains tacky when it dries, which is great. You can touch it with your finger, but I'm just adding some using a cheap little paintbrush to each magnet, particularly the top of the magnet, and I'm trying to hook it under the top side or the lip of the magnet. So here I'm just adding the metal leaf adhesive, then adding some silver leaf on top, and I'm gonna leave that for about half an hour to dry. And I repeated that step with each of the magnets, and I went back afterwards, and if any spots were still tacky, I just added more of the silver leaf. So here I'm doing another one, and you just need a very light coat. You don't need to completely dredge it at all. As a matter of fact, you can leave it to dry a bit and it will, like I said, remain tacky, and you just add the metal leaf right on top. Okay, so now that my little magnets have dried, what I'm going to do is just take a dry paintbrush, something with a little bit of a stiff bristle, but nothing too firm, and just brush off the metal leaf flakes. So anywhere where there isn't any adhesive, that's gonna come loose, and anything that does have adhesive will stick to the magnet. So I'm just gently brushing here, archaeology style or paleontology style, and just brushing off the extra leafing, and it's gonna leave me with a nice silver surface on each of my Magnets. Now you can see there, I missed a little spot. So there was a little bit of adhesive, a sticky spot. So I just took some of the silver leafing that I brushed off and put it right on top of that sticky spot. So it will now adhere and I can brush off the excess. So if you find you've missed a spot or some of it comes off and you still have tackiness underneath, you can add some silver leaf right on top of that and it will stick and cover the spot that has been left exposed. And that's pretty much what I was doing with this magnet right here. It had a sticky spot on top that missed some of the leafing. So I just took some that I brushed off and put it right on top of the sticky spot and then filled in that blank space. So now that all of my magnets have been covered in the silver leaf and they're all brushed clean, I'm going to be adding 2 coats of Maui Sand colored chalk paint. This is a super dark gray, and all it's going to do is just kind of tone down the brightness of the silver. It's going to go really nicely with some of the other things that I have on my refrigerator, and that's why I'm using this color. Now, I could have just covered the magnets in this chalk paint originally and just not even bothered with the silver leaf, but I kind of wanted to see what would happen. I feel like the silver leafing mixed with this and then another color you'll see me add later on kind of looks like the mother of pearl buttons that I have on some giant flowers that I have on my refrigerator. Now I did feature those giant flower magnets and I think it was my very first YouTube video, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe my second, something like that. But I was just really going for that kind of mother of pearly sort of look, and this wasn't really something that, or isn't something that you have to do, but when I craft I really like to have fun, sometimes go beyond what I really have to. My crafting really isn't about rushing. My crafting is really about enjoying the process and trying new things and experimenting and seeing what happens when I try new things. And so you'll see me do that all the time on my channel. Some of this might be too time consuming for some people. They're like, I don't have the patience to do that. Fair enough, I totally understand. But for me, my crafting also helps me to process quite a bit. So I'm actually listening to an audiobook here while I'm crafting and really enjoying it. Okay, so now our flowers have dried. And look how beautiful they turned out. I'm sorry, this shot's a little blurry. But just turning them all over to what appears to be the front side. So I consider the front side to be where the petals are turned up. And I'm using some jewelry adhesive, which is pretty much like a crazy glue. So you can use something like E6000, hot glue, crazy glue. And I also have some crystals that I purchased from Michael's, and they're the AB crystals, the ones that look like sort of like rainbows rather than white crystals. So I think you can probably, if you wanted to, use crystals from the Dollar Tree that are used in nail designing. So I think in the section where they do nail design, you can find little containers just like this one with crystals and rhinestones and things that you can use for the center of your flower. So I'm not putting the pearl back into the flower, as you can see. I'm replacing it with these AB crystals, and these I bought 50% off at Michael's. I think they were $5 for that container. And for some of you, you're probably like, what? That's too expensive for fridge magnets. But for me personally, whenever I'm crafting, whenever I'm creating, especially making things for my home, I don't want to just throw things together. You really use things that I like, and throughout my home I have a lot of pieces that have AB crystal. Like I have AB crystal drawer knobs in my living room, on my TV table. I have them on brooches and pins and various things that I've made throughout the home. So this is tying in with that for me. So if you look around my house, you'll see little elements that kind of look like it's just in one spot, but really they're featured throughout the house. So I'm just going one by one and adding crystals to the center of each of these. And this is super, super easy, and I'm using my tweezers, I guess the same as you would if you were doing nail design. But this is really quick, really easy, and oh so cute. Okay, so for my next step, my friends, I'm going to be adding some Glossy Mod Podge to the top of our magnets themselves, and this is just kind of to give a little sheen, a little gloss, and just to hold everything down, make sure everything's going to stay in place. And some of the magnets are being a little naughty. They keep sticking together because I keep forgetting they're magnets and they fly together. So while you're painting and crafting, just keep that in mind so that they don't fly together and ruin something that you've done. But you'll see that happen a few times throughout the video. So yeah, just one coat of Mod Podge is fine, and that's just kind of like a little sealer, and that's about it. You won't need any more than that. Okay, my friends, so I'm just going to be using a little bit of baby blue paint on our magnets. I felt like the gray and the silver were a little too cold. They needed a little something, and I felt like this blue was it. So this kind of ended up making them look a little bit like the mother of pearl buttons that I have on my other magnets on my fridge, and I like how this turned out. I felt like it kind of tied in as well with the AB crystals, just kind of like the different dimensions that were coming through on the magnets with the gray, the silver, and then now the blue. So I felt pretty satisfied with that. Again, these were a lot of extra steps. Definitely not something, I don't think I would repeat this again. I like how they turned out, but I think next time I would probably just maybe blast the base with some spray paint and call it a day. So once I finished the tops of each of the magnets, I went in and started just adding a little bit of the blue to the sides, so our magnets were kind of even throughout. So I did add some gray chalk paint to the sides. I did not add any of the silver leaf. I felt like that would just be a bit too much, but I did add gray, and then now I'm adding just a little bit of blue with the paintbrush, and I'm brushing it on like you would chalk paint. So it's kind of like dry brushing. I'm not going very heavy at all, so you can still see some of the gray coming through the blue as well. And now we're ready to assemble, and this was the easiest part ever. We're just going to add a little touch of glue to the center of each magnet and top it with a cute little flower just like this. How adorable is that? And here is our finished product, some sweet little single flower magnets with a crystal center for our refrigerator. So for our next project, I'm using these larger magnets from the Dollar Tree and some Sisal rope. Now I had this rope left over from some wood bead garlands that I had taken apart previously. Now usually when I take things apart, if it comes with any sort of rope or ribbon or twine, I'll keep it. I'll just ball it up on a spool and use it for other projects. So I'm just really upcycling this Sisal, but you can find Sisal pretty much at any hardware store. Most craft stores have it, and it's a really just a light colored rope. And I wound it around in my fingers, and then I'm going in with some hot glue on the magnet itself, and then going along the edge of the magnet so the entire edge is covered. And then what I'm going to do is hold it in place, And to finish it off, see how the rope has lines in it that are on an angle? I'm actually going to be cutting along an angle and then gluing that down to the side of the rest of the rope and trying to tuck a little bit under the magnet itself for a nice clean finish. So you can also run the side of your glue gun nozzle and over any little frayed bits, and that'll give you an even cleaner look as well. And here's what our finished magnet looks like. It's gorgeous. To be honest with you, it looks really good just like that. So I did 4 of them in total, and what I decided to do was actually add some more of our little flowers. So I went ahead and did these in advance. You guys already saw how I did them at the beginning of the video for our other little magnets, and I decided to add 3 flowers to each of these. Now I didn't put the flowers in the center because I really liked the way that the sisal looked, and I thought that the sisal and the flowers together looked so awesome. So I put the flowers, I kind of clustered them off to one side of the circle itself. So I kind of put one sort of in the center and then the other 2 above it stuck together, so you can still see a good bit of the sisal. So your your magnet is going to have some really nice texture and detail going on. Okay, and here you have it, our lovely sisal and paper flower fridge magnets. Okay, so for our next project, I'm going to be using 4 more of our larger size magnets and blasting them with gold spray paint. I covered the magnet on the back with some frog tape, which was easy. I just kind of stuck it on and then outline it with a little box cutter, and now I'm just peeling away the frog tape after I've spray painted our magnets. So we have a nice clean finish on the back, all sides are covered, and this is really easy, right? So you could probably do that with the first set of flowers too. The first project that we did with the little magnets, just use some silver spray paint and avoid the gold leaf if you really wanted to. But I enjoy this kind of thing, so I did, what I did. But now I'm just adding some chalk paint to just the surface, not the sides, but just the top surface of our magnets, and you're going to be adding 2 coats of chalk paint. So for this particular craft, every paint and finish that you see me use, you're going to add 2 coats. So that's the chalk paint. Next you'll see an acrylic paint, and then also some Mod Podge, and you're going to add 2 coats of each of those. So once my 2 coats of chalk paint dried, which was Sheepskin by Folk Art, now I'm using another color, which is it's sort of like a brownie beige, whereas the sheepskin is a little bit more of a yellowy ivory. So you're probably like, oh, they kind of look the same to me. Fair enough, I hear you. And this acrylic paint in particular is one of my favorite. For some reason I've been calling it biscuit, but I'm gonna have to look at the color for you guys when I write down below in the description what color it actually is. But it reminds me of biscotti for some reason, so I've been calling it biscuit. But so it's kind of like a brownie sort of beige, and then the sheepskin is a little bit more of a yellowy or ivory cream. And again, we're going to add 2 coats of this, and we already previously added 2 coats of the sheepskin, so we get a nice deep rich color coating. Okay friends, so now that my biscuit has dried, I'm going to be using a Q-tip to make little polka dots on my magnets. Now I tried the tip of a pencil eraser and didn't like it. They were a little bit too big. Not sure how I feel about this size of dot. Maybe I did too many, not sure. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. But for the spacing, I kind of went with 1 dot right in the center and then kind of worked my way outward, sort of like a flower pattern, and kind of put 1 dot in between 2, if that makes sense, to achieve the look that I got. And you can slow it down and just kind of see what the pattern sort of looked like there. But now I'm just adding a coat of Mod Podge. I ended up doing 2, as I mentioned before. And I'm just making sure that there isn't any dripping, because I noticed on one of the magnets that some of the Mod Podge was kind of like dripping over the sides. So I just went back in and touched that up a bit. But yeah, you can see here that I kind of did like sort of like 1 dot in the center and then made sort of a flower around that, and then kind of went in between that with the dots, if that makes sense. But there we have it. And for this, I decided to use the ivory and sort of corally pink flowers, and I already did them in advance using the crystals as well, just like we did previously. And I'm just using 2 for each one. I wanted to make sure the polka dots were seen. They're part of this project. Didn't really want them to be hidden. And think that these are so quirky and cute. I actually have a stool in my kitchen where I refinished the top in that biscuit color with gold dots. And I also have a straw basket in my living room with a white base, and I added gold dots to it. So I felt like, oh, this is a nice little way to tie these in as well, and thought these looked oh so cute, and I think these would make a really nice gift as well. But there's our finished product, and look how sweet and precious the. And now here's how everything turned out. Friends, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. I would be oh so grateful, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.